Thank you. Okay. Well, you have met the stars, and they are the new members of this group. But I want to kind of go through a little stuff with you with a little bit of the past, a little bit of the present, and a little bit of what I see in the future. Because it's been, how many years? 60 years? Something like that. 65 years ago, Jay and I started to sell Neutralite. But before that, the two of us were in a Christian high school in Grand Rapids. You have some fine Christian churches and other types in your country. But we were born to parents who believed in the Christian faith, and as our families do to this day. And our faith was the foundation of the business, because we were taught to respect others and to help others. And so this business appealed to us because it not only allowed us to have a business, but to help other people have a business. I say that because to us, having a business of our own was the most important thing we had. We were not thinking of getting a job or anything. We never talked about going to college. We just talked about getting in business for ourselves. And so when the Neutralite opportunity came along, that's what we got into. And for 10 years, we built a distributorship. But I hate to apologize to you, we didn't make diamond in that time. We never did make diamond, to tell you the truth. I don't even know how they let me in the room here, because I'm not qualified. But the Neutralite business was a great business, but a difficult business. And so there were some things going on at that time between a marketing company and Neutralite. And in that little interruption, we decided we would start selling some products of our own. And so we formed Amway with the distributors that were in our group, and they all wanted to join us in that effort. And so we put together a couple of simple products, one of which was an all-purpose cleaner. Today you call it LOC. But that was our first product, and still one of our biggest products. It was just that simple. We had one product. You know, when we sold Neutralite, we had one product. We had Neutralite Double X. That was the only product we had to sell. And you either sold it or you went home. You couldn't offer them anything else. And so that would seem like a little bit of a difficulty. It was for us. One shot at the moon. And we worked and we got customers. Jay's mother was a big fan. My parents became good fans. And two other people who were not relatives. It was slow going. But we were young, in our 20s, so we figured we had time. Prior to that, we had been in the aviation business. We had our own flying school teaching people how to fly. The important thing is that neither Jay nor I knew how to fly. But we had people who did know how to fly, and they could teach the students. The lesson we learned from it was that you don't have to know everything to do something. You know, you talk to a lot of people and they say, well, I don't know how to sell. Well, I've never done anything like that. I say, well, that's okay. The guys who started this company never did anything like that either. In fact, before we did this company, nobody had ever done what we had done. There was people in Neutralite who had done something like it, but not like we have done. So the thing that you're participating is something that's brand new in the world. And after we started it, there were many people who said it would never work, just like you here today, still. Well, it won't last. What happens if somebody doesn't pay the bonuses? I said, well, then I guess we'll find somebody else who will pay the bonuses. And so, but it was a question of integrity. Would we pay the bonuses? Could we afford to pay the bonuses? And so the distributors who came with us in those days had to answer those questions, because those were serious questions. But there was no business to speak of, so that was a good question to ask. But nevertheless, that was the past. And as the years went by, we went from 2 of us to 4 of us to 8 of us to 100, from $100 worth of business to our first $1 million year. That's a long time ago, guys and gals. But all those people who traveled the road ahead of you broke down those barriers. They were the ones who answered those questions and overcame them. They moved beyond them to prove that it could be done. And they did it when it was more difficult than it is now. A lot of people still think it's difficult. But they have you. See, our people didn't have you. Didn't have people like you who had done it. Who could, I did it. You say, I did it, I did it, I did it. They didn't have anybody who said, I did it. There were no I did it's. There was just them and their faith in these 2 guys and in this little business. We had products that one time were yellow, next time they were a little pale. We didn't even have color consistency in the LOC. Sometimes we'd have a green cap, sometimes we'd have a yellow cap. Sometimes you would have a good label, sometimes you'd have a bad label. For a while there, we had a label, but the guy who sold the product to us had bought the bottles from another company. And the bottles were toilet bowl cleaner. But he wrapped a new label around it. So you can imagine how people felt when they tore the labels off and discovered what the bottles said, not what the labels said. But we had to overcome all that. We had to just keep going and get better bottles and better packages. You see, you today, when you buy an Amway product, you expect it to be good. You expect it to be guaranteed. You expect the label to be good and the product to be packaged properly. That's because you're here now. But that wasn't when it began. I'm not trying to tell you that to make you feel bad. I just want to tell you what the people before you went through so that you and I could be here today celebrating what we celebrate. They are all wonderful people just like you. Yeah. You heard about some of them, Bill Britt, Bernice Hansen, but there were about a dozen others at those days who worked with us, who carried on and made this thing what it is. They too wondered about whether we could be trusted and whether we could pay the checks. But we proved we could, and life moved on. But the miracle of this business is because of the faith of those people in what we were trying to do. That meant we had to be trustworthy. And we had to prove that we would do what we said we would do. That we would stand behind the product and be able to prove that we could. That when we gave them a check, a bonus check, that it was a good check, that it wouldn't bounce. There was nobody in the world who had ever done a sales plan like we had done. And that's because none of them really wanted to share as much of the money with the distributors. As Steve told you a little bit ago, we pay more out in the Amway plan than anybody else pays out. That's because we want to give it to the people who deserve it. And you people are the most deserving and the most productive people of anybody in all the world like this. There are a couple other companies that have followed us, but none of them have come to where we are. You know, you think if I had the same plan and we used it here, it would be the same. But there are other factors in it. That is the trust in you and your trust in us. And as I said to you also, you know, our Christian faith, where we were rooted in, meant you had to be responsible for the things you promised. That you were going to be held accountable for your actions. And so we believe that. We believe it today. But everything we do and everything we say to you is the foundation of this business. They didn't have anything else to go on. We didn't have $1 million bank account. We didn't have a big building. We had a little office in our basement. And I mean little. Jerry Dutt and Joe Victor used to sleep on a cot in my office, such as it was. They would come over for a meeting, and they'd sleep in our basement because it was cheaper. They didn't have much money. We were all just getting along. Some of you have gone through those difficult times because you've left other jobs and you had to move on. But all of us were in that position at that time. Today, the world of Amway is filled with heroes and people who started from nothing into something. That's like all of you. And so when somebody says, "What makes you think I can do it?" I say, "Well, I know because I did it. I did it. I did it. You can do it too." And that became the slogan, didn't it? You can do it too. And so really that's a slang word of the Amway business. You can do it too. But as the years go by, I think the questions drop out, the confidence goes up, and your opportunity gets bigger because there are that many more millions of people in the world who are seeking exactly what you have. They just don't know they can do it. They don't even know they can have it. But we are going to go to those places in the world so that we can let them have it too. It'd be a crime if we didn't share it with everybody in the world, wouldn't it? But it's our responsibility to give everybody the opportunity you and I have had. And whereas we can do that, and wherever we can do that, then we got to go do that. Our faith is very strong. Our faith is also in you. We believe in you. We trust you. We respect you. We stand in awe before you. You're awesome. You are amazing people. A lot of you dress better than you used to, too. And you look better. Your cosmetics are better. So we love to see you. But you know, that is just a short snippet of a long story. There were battles to win that were difficult with governments, with our own government. Because nobody had ever done this before. They accused us of gypping people, offering people something that they couldn't get or that wouldn't happen for them so that we could make a bunch of money and go home. But see, we wanted a business of our own. During that time of period, we had companies come and try to buy us. Say, "We'd like to buy your company." And one time we had a big company come in, and Jay and I said, let's let them come in and talk to us. Even though we don't want to sell the company, it'd be fun to see what they think it's worth. So they sent a guy over, and we chatted for a while, and finally, after letting him go on and about making an offer, I said, I can't let you go on anymore. We are not for sale. This is our business, and we are going to keep it that way. And you can't buy this company. I don't care how much money you guys, not a matter of dollars. And all the people that we have put in this business who have been trusted to our care, we can't just turn them over to some stranger. Many a guy or a gal who started companies like this turned around and sold them to somebody else, and they took the money and went home. But the distributors, who now found they had a new owner, often failed because the company didn't recognize them or appreciate them or pay them properly or didn't respect them properly. You know, they were just New York guys who wanted to make money. I know you're going to go there, but it's okay. Just be careful where you go there. And they were people who turned things over and took the money, and then they went on home. But you see, this is a family business. And you will look around this room tonight, and you see children and grandchildren. And they are here tonight because it's their business too. And they are going to be responsible for this business. And so we have to help teach them to it. And it's something you have to start doing today to your children. It isn't something you surprise them on the day before you die and say, hey, by the way, this is going to be your business. You start bringing them in now so they learn it, because the people under you trust you and your family as well. So you've got to build an Amway structure in your home. At one time, we had a diamond meeting in Hawaii, and I had put on a whole meeting for the children who were there. Before that, we had a meeting with the adults, but the kids were running around the halls in the hotel, raising hob with the elevators, like kids do. And I said, we can't do this. We got to do something productive. So we would have a meeting with the children. And you can think about doing this too. And we would teach them how to answer the telephone, how to greet people at the door, how to shake hands with people, how to introduce them to somebody else, how to make out an order, how to help them make out an order. Little things that your children should learn to do now, because someday they're going to be doing it in a big time. And sometime your business is going to be a big business, and you have to have people who can represent you well and carry on your tradition of responsibility. That's part of your responsibility today. Think forward. Think down the line. Think of all the people who've entrusted their life to you. And you entrusted it to us. So we got to be responsible to you. That's part of our Christian heritage. We are responsible to you, and we will honor that. My father came to me one day right after we'd started Amway and said, boy, you make a lot of claims to these people of things you're going to do. He said, you better live up to your Christian responsibility. Be careful the things you say, because you are going to be held accountable for them. And so I pass that good word on to you. We don't have to make any false claims. We don't have to make any excessive claims. All we have to do is tell them what we're doing. And if you're not doing good enough, then do better so you have a good story to tell. All of you in this room have fabulous stories. Your stories are so great that those people have a hard time believing you when you tell them how good you are and how well you're doing, and that you left a company and you've entrusted your care to this little company. But this company is not such a little company anymore. We've moved from having to establish our credibility in countries all over the world, including China, but we've gained favor with their government, with your government, if you're from China, and we've handled the other governments as best as we can, and so that we've found acceptability and credibility in all these places. And if you conduct yourself well, then we will maintain that credibility. But if you don't, that credibility that we have won't be good enough for you. You carry the credibility challenge now in all of your countries. And as long as you do that, we'll help you stay with it, keep you on the ball and on the track. And then we can keep going. You know, we have to be careful with the governments we have, whatever government, whatever country. They have the power to make us or break us. And that means we got to conduct ourselves properly in our own countries so that we gain favor with our governments. And a lot of you are doing exactly what that takes. Your philanthropy, your generosity, your giving, your helping with one-on-one plans, with other things that go on in your country to help young people learn. And that evidence begins to pile up after a while of the good we do in the communities, how we help and make a community a better place. Amway works at that. Well, we don't have the hands and legs you have, but look at all of you in this room and the millions of others around the world who, if we decide to help our town or our city or our community, man, you can make a difference. If you start to encourage the young people in your community, you have a huge impact because you're a successful person in that town. And when you talk to these young people, it'll mean a difference. Che and I went to a Christian high school, and when I graduated, we had a minister who taught Bible, and my marks weren't too good. I wasn't a smart kid. And he wrote, with talents for leadership in God's kingdom, in my book. Well, those are pretty strong words. But they carried me along a long way because I thought, if that guy feels that way about me, I must have some ability someplace. Because nobody else thought so. But when he does that, or when you say that to some youngster in your group or in somebody else's group, I say, oh, wow, they're diamonds. They're founder council. They're big, big people. Those kids will say, wow, you hear, so-and-so told me that. When I met Fu in Malaysia a long time ago, he still remembers my telling him those words, that I was proud of him and that I thought he could do it. Is that right, Fu? Just trying to guarantee it. I want to back it up that I really said it. He reminded me at the dinner table that I had encouraged him that way. Was it a big speech? No, it was just a few words that I believed in him. And the people that surround you believe in you. And you have to be worthy of their belief by how you conduct your life and the things you say and the things you do. But the best way you do that is by setting a good example. So when you become a member of this group, that's what I call setting a great example. Because that sets a standard for them that is way beyond what they could ever imagine, even bigger than you could have imagined many years ago. Did you ever think you'd be this far? Did you ever think you'd make this much? Yes or no? No. Okay. Well, okay. You know, that's the trouble with translation. When I say it, it comes up out of my mouth, I look for a response. But it isn't until you get the translation that we get a response. Anyway, you know, that's sort of the history of where we are now. A key in the beginning days was that we would manufacture our own products so that we could control the quality of the product we offered you. And we always had confidence in the Neutralite product. And so a little while after Amway got going, we talked to Stan Rindborg's father and asked him if they'd be interested in selling to us so we could hook up together. And he said yes, he would, because he was interested in getting his product to the world. And he felt we could do it better than they were doing at that time. And so we hooked up with Neutralite, and today Neutralite is the biggest part of the Amway business. Isn't that a great story? Now that's where we started with $50. And so the marriage of Amway and Neutralite has been a fantastic achievement for both of us. And you make deals, you like to make them work for both of us. And so today and the future. Well, the future is going to depend on you. It's going to be dependent on our children and your children. And the game plan is that it outsurvives us. You know, we all of us would like to survive, but to have your heritage go on. What is your heritage? It's going to be your business. It's going to be your children. And how your children assume responsibility for the things you teach them and share with them. And so we were always encouraged to get a business of our own by our parents. And that's what we did. But if your children hear that, they'll begin to think, I ought to have a business of my own. And pretty soon they'll think, and then they'll do. Because that was your faith and that was your message to them. They know you're a big successful person. And so they want to achieve like you have. Or will they say, well, Dad, you can do it, but I can't do it. Or, Mom and Dad, you're really good, but I can't talk like that. You can say, yes, you can. You can do it. I'll teach you. We'll show you what you can do. And that is the big heritage you leave by putting confidence in your children. That they can put their mind to it, they can achieve. They can achieve everything you've achieved in this business and even more. They'll have to live with many of your friends because they'll be in their group. But we all have to live with the people we bring in and learn to love. Not everybody I brought in is lovable. Some of them are. Most of them are. In fact, I found that those that weren't lovable didn't stay in the business anyway. If you don't have a heart of love for others in this business, you're not going to attract people around you. You've got to demonstrate that you care about them and that you want to pass on that word and encourage them in life. And if we all do that, it's going to be a better world. But that's the foundation of the Christian religion, is sharing it and encouraging others to accept it and follow it. I feel like I ought to ask you, have any questions? Because there are so many things we've done in this lifetime, or of our 50 years. Jay and I have been in this business all of our life. We have never done anything else with the Amway business. Oh, we had a couple of little businesses before Amway. But this was our life. And so I'm sharing with you some of the highs and lows of it. I can spend a lot of time on the lows of it. Fortunately, we got through them. And whenever we'd get down low, we said, wait, we get all these people. When the guy offered us so much money to buy the company, we said, we can't walk away from these people. These people trust us. They don't trust something. They don't trust a company. They trust us. So we've got to be worthy of the trust. And when I look at the plan, people say to me, or we think about it, well, it's just because you're good at this. I said, no. That's not what holds this thing together. What holds it together is the plan. The way the plan is structured. Because the plan is built in such a way to reward the people who work and slide the money by the people who don't work. If you don't get that right, then pretty soon you got a whole lot of people who don't do anything. But you've got to fill your life in this business with people who perform. And we have to have a way to move beyond them. And we have managed to put a program together that does that. And because of that, we're the largest direct selling company in the world today. That's pretty good, huh? And you made it happen. So I congratulate you on your great achievement. You have done things neither Jane or I ever imagined what this company would do. It's never been done before. So every time we break a new record, it's a record. Never in the history of the world has a business been done that envelops so many people from all walks of life, from all over the world. Think about it. Isn't it amazing to think about that? People from every walk of level in life come together in this business. Some who don't know how to dress well. I watch you, and then you come back and you got, whew, you look beautiful, just like you do for this meeting. You all bought new stuff, and you look marvelous. I don't know if we can afford to ring here anymore. Or maybe your husband wonders whether we can afford to come together. But nevertheless, I'm grateful and I'm happy, because if you would dig out a picture of what you used to look like and how you used to dress and what you could afford, you say, was that me? That was you. But you see, when your heart changes and your joy in being a person who helps other people happen, all the other things come together. And your face lifts up, and your eyes brighten up, and your caring and loving hearts are reflected in your face. And people know that you're a person who cares. You're a person who's concerned about other people. You're a person who is important in your community because you set a standard in your community. You set a standard for the children in your community. And they recognize that you don't have a big factory, but you are the factory, and you are the big achiever. And so you are the town. They don't have to elect you. They will know you by what you've done. And you set the patterns. And that's where the world improves, by people like you who change the world day by day, one person at a time. So thanks for being a part of the trip with us. It's been a great journey in all my lifetime, and you will carry it on into the future. So best wishes to all of you. Thank you. Hey.